When they arrived home, Mark pulled out the key and unlocked the door. As it swung open, an icy chill enveloped them, and the air filled with the scent of mold and decay. It was as if the house had been frozen in time. The entryway light flickered briefly, making them even more aware that something was amiss. "Rachel, did you leave the window open?" Mark asked, glancing at the curtains swaying gently, though the window was firmly shut. She shook her head, confused. They stepped inside and began to check the house. Each footstep echoed unnaturally, as though they were being watched. When they reached the hallway, a faint whisper, almost inaudible, stopped them in their tracks. "Did you hear that?" Mark asked, his voice faltering slightly. Rachel looked at him, visibly uneasy, but said nothing. Then everything began to happen at once. The bedroom door, which was usually ajar, was now completely closed. As Rachel approached it, she felt a heavy pressure on her chest, as if something were trying to stop her. With difficulty, she pushed the door open, and what she saw froze her in place. A dark shadow floating in the dimly lit room. Suddenly, the cold intensified, and an overwhelming wave of fear washed over Rachel. The shadow moved, and she felt something touch her. In an instant, she turned to Mark, her eyes completely black and lifeless. "Rachel," Mark stammered, stepping back in horror. The woman before him was no longer the same. Her movements became erratic and unnatural, and a sinister grin spread across her face. The air in the house seemed to grow thick with a malevolent presence. Rachel began wandering aimlessly through the house, as though guided by something unseen. "I am not her anymore," she said in a guttural, distorted voice that didn't sound like her own. Mark froze, terror filling his chest. He tried to reach out to her. She moved away, her posture growing more menacing with every step. The air turned oppressive, and the lights flickered violently, plunging the house into an even more terrifying atmosphere. Desperate, Mark ran to the attic, where he found an old box filled with books and artifacts that seemed ancient. Rifling through one of the books, he found a passage about an entity that possessed people, a malevolent spirit that inhabited bodies and transformed their personalities. Determined, Mark rushed back downstairs and found Rachel standing in the middle of the living room, her body unnaturally still, as if waiting for something. "Rachel!" he shouted, trying to grab her shoulders. But as soon as he touched her, the temperature dropped further, and a piercing scream erupted from her throat. The entity fully manifested. Rachel's mouth opened impossibly wide, revealing sharp teeth and a blackened tongue as her voice muttered ancient, forbidden words. "You cannot stop me," she hissed, her body twisting in unnatural ways. Paralyzed with fear, Mark flipped through the book, desperately trying to find a way to banish the entity. He discovered a ritual that required breaking the house's energy sources, represented by candles scattered throughout. Grabbing a knife from the box, he began cutting the wicks of the candles. But Rachel, now fully controlled by the entity, attacked him with unnatural strength. The house groaned as though alive, as if conspiring against him. Summoning all his courage, Mark managed to extinguish the final flame. Everything stopped. The house fell silent. Its oppressive atmosphere dissipated. The entity was gone. Rachel